Good afternoon and welcome back. We are on day 6 of the Every Bit Counts challenge. We have some follow-up from previous days to get us started. I did want to let everybody know we are going to be doing a giveaway. I have a copy of Sandor Katz's Fermentation Journeys. For those of you that don't know, he's kind of considered the modern day fermentation guru. But yeah, I have a copy of that available to a winner that is going to be determined from comments on my last video. It would be the Dehydrating Onions Kvass bottling video. I will try to figure out how to link that video in the description of this one. You will subscribe, like that video, and comment on that video because we are using a random comment picker from that video to determine the winner. So I did want to say that. And then to get us started today, I think our blueberry kvass is going to be ready to be bottled. I am going to show you some of the bubbles, I hope, that we're getting, and I'm going to give it a taste, but I think it is ready. Let's see, can you see some of the activity? If I give it a shake, the bubbles move pretty good. There's a nice foam at the top. Let's see. Oh yeah, see, that's like really pulpy. I don't want to spill, but it's really pulpy on top. It is, yes, and it is definitely fermented. It gets kind of an alcohol-y smell. I don't like it to get too far to that point because I do not like alcohol, and even when it does smell that way, you're still a long ways from it being, very alcoholic, but I can hear it fizzing. I just want to check and make sure that we didn't let it go too long. If it goes too long, it can get kind of vinegary. No, that is still fairly sweet. It is still good. But I am going to call it done. This bowl is still pretty hot. I don't want to kill anything. I just pulled it out of the sanitizing setting in my dishwasher. So I might give that a few more minutes. We are also going to, if you saw my short that I posted this morning, the onions are dehydrated. I did green onions and yellow onions. My husband asked me not to do the Walla Wallas. He wanted to save those from the garden for fresh eating. I am probably going to have to get some more yellow or white onions because I got to thinking about it, and I think every recipe from Little Hill Homestead for their dried soup mixes, I'm pretty sure they all had onion in them. So I will probably need more. But I will do that a different day. Let's see, what else was I going to tell you guys? Celery. We're going to do celery today. Maybe some peppers if I have room in the dehydrator. So the dehydrator that I had decided to designate for onions, I got to think about it. I'm going to put the celery in there too because I don't think there's anything I would make with celery that doesn't already have onion in it anyways. So, okay, this is cooled off, I think, enough that it shouldn't kill my bacteria. You don't ever want extremes, too hot, too cold. You just don't want that with your ferments. So I'm going to go ahead and, just like the gold raspberries yesterday, I'm going to dump this in to strain off the berries. And again, some people eat the berries. I don't like them. I don't find that they have much flavor left. Most of the flavor is now in the water. But some people eat them. Give them to animals. Whatever you want to do with them is fine. They're perfectly safe to eat. I just don't like how they taste at that point. I got bottles out. I wasn't sure if we were going to be bottling it, but I had a pretty good feeling we were, just based on when I pulled the towel off and could see how foamy it was and how much movement there was. So this is taking a little while to drip through even this, which tells me this is straining out still a bit more of the what will be pulp and sediment. All right, bottle time. So when I took a class to actually learn how to do this, he, the instructor bottles his in like 12 or 16 ounce bottles, and said he usually would split a bottle with his wife. I wasn't sure if my husband was going to like these or not, so I started right at the beginning with 8 ounce bottles. He does like it, but we don't always drink it at the same time, so I have just stuck with the 8 ounce bottles. I think they're nice. If your system isn't used to a lot of probiotics right off the get-go, you want to start small anyways. They're very beneficial, and beneficial to get multiple strains, so it's nice if you can have, you know, Kvass or water kefir or a ginger bug, kombucha. I don't like kombucha. I tried for years to figure out how to make kombucha. I finally did, and I discovered I really kind of hate it. So you won't really see kombucha here unless somebody tells me that they have a, you know, foolproof, it's better than everybody else's method. I would be willing to try it again, but I spent multiple years trying it. When I finally got it to work, I still didn't like it. That being said, I have actually done this method with tea instead of water. I like white tea because I'm not a big tea drinker, and I find it's the most mild. But if you wanted to make, you know, your blueberry naturally fermented soda caffeinated, you can make it with tea instead of water. It does work. I did some last year with white tea and kind of forgot about it until right now. But yeah, I don't like kombucha. I've tried water kefir. It actually has another name that I can never pronounce. It was fine. It's very mild. To make it taste like something I actually wanted to drink, I had to add more sugar or fruit juice to it than I actually wanted. So I don't really care for it either. I do like all the ginger bug sodas that I made, and they also have more sugar than like what this has, but they're delicious and they're easy. So at some point I probably will start a ginger bug again. For some reason I am more inclined to do it in the wintertime or fall. I guess because I have to buy the ginger and I'm not using stuff coming fresh out of my garden. Probably is the main culprit. Let's see. Looks like we're going to have a little bit left, but not really enough for another whole bottle. So I will probably just pour that in a glass and drink it. Alright, we'll get these capped. That's weird. I can hear my printer going in the other room in my office, and I am the only one home, so I don't know what was just sent to the printer. It kind of freaked me out. I had to work this morning. I had to run to town first thing this morning and then work, and it's getting to be, it's almost 2:30, And my husband will be home soon. And he tries to be quiet if I'm filming, but he's not super great at it. So I wanted to try to get this done first. I can work my other job while he's here. It's harder to do this while he's here. So I'm going to get these put on the counter over here, wipe down, clean up, and show you what I'm going to do with the dehydrated onions from yesterday. Okay, we are back. The onions dried for right at about 21 hours. They have been shut off now for, gosh, probably 5 hours. You want to let them come back down to room temperature before you package them in any way. I am going to be putting these in mason jars. And I will put a lid on there. And I don't want to pack them in there tight. They'll just be in there really loose. And I'll put the lid on. I'm not going to vacuum seal them yet. Because what I'm going to be looking for is if any condensation appears in the jar. If any condensation appears in the jar over the next few days to a week, it means there was still moisture left in the onions and they need to go back on the dehydrator, in the dehydrator. If after a week, 10 days, none of that is showing up, I will be confident that they are dry, and I will go ahead and vacuum seal the jar until I am ready to use it. I should have grabbed my canning funnel, but this is okay. It's not too big of a project for this amount. It's funny, I had 3 bunches of green onions, organic green onions that I had bought at Walmart, and I'd only ordered 2. And I was like, why did they give me 3? It was a pickup, and I didn't notice it until I got here, so I was getting ready to message them and let them know that I got 1 too many. And when I went on and looked at my order, I realized I didn't get my leeks. So I was like, oh. And I looked, and my 3 bags of onions were packaged 2 in a bag and 1 in a bag. So I thought, okay, somebody thought that they were grabbing leeks when they grabbed the 3rd thing of green onions. So instead of messaging them to tell them that I got 1 too many, I had to message them to tell them I didn't get my leeks. So that was kind of a bummer. But they credited that to me. I did tell them that I got an extra green onion if they wanted to charge me for that. They told me to just enjoy it. So yeah, so I just put this on, just hand tight. And I will be watching this over the next week or so to make sure no condensation appears in the jar. You do want to check on it, because if there is condensation, it will mold quickly. So keep an eye on those. And then in here we've got the yellow onions and a few more pieces of green onion I'm not going to worry about. So then today I went into town and I ordered the leeks again. I was actually picking up snacks for a thing at church for some kids, kids youth ministry thing, and I went ahead and tried to get the leeks again, and they came out. The guy bringing them out, he says, "What are these beanstalk things?" And I said, "Those are leeks." He's like, "I have no idea what that is." And I said, "It's kind of like a giant green onion." And he says, "A green onion?" And I said, "Yeah." And so when he says, it looks like corn without the corn. So I thought it was funny, because obviously he doesn't fill orders. He must just take them out to cars, because I would assume if you fill the orders, you know what things are. But yeah, he had never seen a leek before. Had no idea what it was. Kind of was questioning whether or not he even knew what a green onion was. But I thought it was kind of funny and a little sad. I think we're getting pretty far separated from what food is and where it comes from, and different flavor profiles and all of that kind of stuff. But I told him that it was, you know, a giant green onion, but he didn't even seem really confident in what a green onion was. Alright. The other thing I don't like about this, my Excalibur doesn't have a hole in the middle, so I can kind of taco the sheets and do that. This one is harder to do that with, and I'm making a mess. Alright, so I have 2 trays to go. This worked out to be about 1 large yellow onion per tray. So that's good to know, because I do think I'm going to need more onion. So I will be making sure I buy some more on my next grocery shopping trip. Oh, that made a big mess. So yeah, this is the last tray, and then once I'm done with this, I will pause you for a moment and wash up some celery. I should have had that done already, but I do not. Like I said, I was trying to kind of hurry, because I'm trying to get this done before my husband gets home. Okay. We've got a lot of onion here, and I did sanitize this countertop also before I started. Always clean hands. You know, this could also be really good ground up to make your own onion powder. That might be something I consider in the future, because I think I'm actually going to do that with some of the hot peppers I'm getting ready to process. Because we don't put a lot of hot peppers like whole in our foods or even chopped, but I do use it as seasoning. So we've got our dehydrated onions, yellow onions, green onions. I will be watching both of these over the course of the next week to make sure no moisture shows up, no condensation in the jars. If they do, they will immediately go back on the dehydrator. I'm going to pause you for a moment, and when I come back, we will do celery. Alright, I'm back with the celery. I've got it, I cut the ends off, and I've got it here in some water to rinse off any dirt that may still be in there. And I am just going to cut it to the size I would normally put in a soup. Obviously these will shrink as they dry, but when they rehydrate, they will come back to almost their full, full original hydrated size. So I am just going to chop this up how I would chop it for soup. Some of the pieces that are really big, I will cut lengthwise because we don't like huge chunks of celery. Just go on here. I suspect these will probably take a full 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer. Their water content is much higher than the onion was, and the onion, I mean, maybe it could have come out earlier, but I like to be on the side of it being over dry than not dry enough. I have 2 stalks here. I'm not sure how much that'll give me, and I kind of wish I would have thought a little bit harder about the recipes that I'm wanting to make, the soups in jars. just because I think it would have given me a better idea of how much dried vegetable that I actually want. You know, obviously if there's leftovers, that's fine, but I want to make sure I have enough. Because really, the dried vegetables could go in anything that you're making as long as you're going to cook it long enough for it to rehydrate. I find usually it takes 20 to 30 minutes as long as you've got enough moisture for it to absorb. So the raspberry kvass was ready early yesterday. If you saw that short, it was ready before the end of the day. Since it is already fairly late in the afternoon, I won't even check the blueberry until tomorrow morning. And if it's busy like the raspberry was, it will go in the fridge. If it's not, I will let it go a little bit longer and check it every 12 hours or so. Like these big ends, I like to just kind of split them to about halfway, because then at the halfway point, I'm okay with my slices being the same size as the top of the celery. But sometimes those ends can get a little fat, a little big. I don't want to take a bite of soup and just have a bite of celery. And when I get to those tender middles with the leaves, they'll all just go in here, because that is how I cook with celery in my soup. So this is going to be enough to finish off this tray. I think I'm going to pause it so you don't have to just sit here and watch me chop celery. I will come back when I've got it done to let you know how far the two stalks went, and if there's room, I might throw on either some more onion or some peppers, because I have both of those things that I still, well, the peppers are out of the garden and they need to get used up, because I picked some of them a couple weeks ago. And then I do still have, I think I have some onions. I was going to do more onions yesterday, and they were kind of a little softer than I wanted. I want the best quality going into the dehydrator, because it's not going to become better quality in the dehydrating process. So I'm going to pause you for now, and I will come back before I wrap things up. Okay, so far I have 3 trays, probably close to enough to fill another one, but I brought you back because I wanted your thoughts. I remember in a cooking group I was in a couple years ago, there was some great debate over what you call this. When I think of a stalk of celery, I think of the whole thing, and this is a rib. But there were some recipes that were calling for 2 or 3 stalks of celery. So obviously they meant 2 or 3 ribs. But it kind of didn't break the internet, but it broke that page. There was quite the lively debate going. Now obviously when I see a recipe calls for 2 or 3 stalks of celery, I know what they mean. They are talking 2 or 3 ribs of celery. But what do you think? Was it worth fighting over? What do you call them? I also have discovered I cut a lot faster when I'm not recording. I don't know if you've ever seen like some of the lives where people cut themselves on the mandolins and whatever, and I'm here to do that. And obviously I'm not live, but I also still don't know how to edit, So if I cut myself, you're either going to see it or I have to scrap the whole video. So I find I cut a lot faster if I have you guys on pause. So let me get through this last bit of celery. And I'm going to pause you again and get the peppers ready because I still have 2 trays to fill this dehydrator. Actually 2.5 if I move all of this over here. When you're loading a dehydrator, you want it to pretty much just be single layer. When I'm doing fruits and things like that, I make sure they don't even touch or overlap. Something this small, I'm not that concerned about. Depending on your dehydrator, you may or may not want to rotate trays partway through. And if you do that, you can always kind of give things a shuffle too. Like I said, this dehydrator didn't do great dehydrating in the far corners. So I might do that with these. With the onions, it wasn't necessary. When I picked a tray up, I could hear them rolling around in there, dry pretty quick. So let me wash this up, wash my hands, get the peppers ready, and we will come back and finish up our last 2.5 trays with peppers. Alright, I'm back with the peppers. I do have a few that are hot, so I'm going to glove up for those. I think I will put the hot peppers on the tray that's half celery, so I remember when I'm jarring them up. I am going to just cut them into rings, and I am going to mix varieties. I don't care because we don't eat a lot of hot pepper just as hot peppers. I am most likely going to dry these and turn them into a powder to season other foods and meals. I don't remember. I don't know if these ones are actually hot. They don't smell that hot. I don't remember what variety they were. I know these are Hungarian hot wax. And I know I have some Thai chili peppers out there. I did one bed that was all hot peppers, and these red ones were in it. But I don't remember what they were called, and I could not find the steak. It disappeared. And since I am going to just dry and powder these, I'm even leaving the seeds intact because that is where the heat and a lot of your flavor comes from. So I'm going to go ahead, if there are seeds in there, they will stay in there. Was kind of sad. There were a couple of these gypsy peppers that I had picked a couple weeks ago, and they were a little past their prime. And then when I went out to our other refrigerator to get the ones that I just picked yesterday, I had a bunch of frozen cucumbers. So that is sad. I guess I need to turn that fridge down. I usually keep it super cold because it's our beverage refrigerator, and we just like to have it fully stocked with icy cold sodas, Kvass, waters. But it is obviously too cold for produce. Okay, so that's the spicy-ish ones. Let's see. Trying to decide what I think the future application of these is going to be. I think I'm just going to chop them because if they're dehydrated, I have to rehydrate them. So they're not going to be, you know, like a fresh eating pepper. So I guess I will just cut them into strips and then just give those a rough chop. know if they would rehydrate. If I did them in strips, if they would dehydrate well enough to be used in fajitas. That's what we had for dinner last night. They were good. An assortment of peppers. I had some orange bell peppers, some of these gypsy peppers, I think an ancho chili, and just a California Wonder green pepper, and then some Walla Walla sweets and some beef. Oh, it was so good. I don't know what we're having for dinner tonight. I spent all day planning this video and planning food and food related stuff, but didn't plan dinner. So we will have to figure something out, but that's okay because that's why we do what we do. I have lots of different cans of things that can be heated up. You know, as long as you have bread, you can always make sandwiches and whatnot. It's just fine. Okay, so I'm going to keep chopping these. I think we're going to have more peppers than what are going to fit on 2 trays. Just looking at this one pepper almost filling half a tray. So maybe I'll do all of the gypsy peppers today and then try to do some of the others tomorrow. I will get these chopped up and let you know how far we get. Okay, I'm back. I was able to squeeze all of those peppers onto those 2.5 trays. They might be a little bit thick in spots. I'll just have to watch that and kind of stir as they dry. But yeah, so this is what that dehydrator looks like. Complete. It's not my favorite, but it worked great for the onions. I suspect it'll do fine for the peppers and celery as well. I don't expect there to be issue with flavor crossover from the onions. I didn't even wash the trays in between because, like I said, there's nothing that I would cook with those things that I'm not also cooking with onion. So I'm going to get this plugged in and turned on. I will set it for 24 hours and we'll see. I might not have an update on this tomorrow because hopefully I will get tomorrow's day 7 video out earlier than what 24 hours from now will be. So I will let you know when it is ready though. I might just do a short when they're nice and crispy. Yeah, I'm going to link the video for the giveaway in with this one if I can figure out how to do that. If you don't see that link there, look for the video with a thumbnail that says giveaway on it. Until then, have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow for day 7, and also a finished Friday for crocheting. 2 separate videos. That way if you're only interested in the gardening food stuff, you don't have to watch the crochet stuff and vice versa. So, have a good night.